Now, for more on the event, we're now joined live by our reporter Ryan Meltzer. He's there for us in Vientiane. Good to see you there, Ryan. What are some of the highlights of the day for you?
Well, the day began with ASEAN holding its ASEAN plus India meeting, where Prime Minister Modi of India talked about how the relationship between ASEAN and India was a source of stability and balance, he said. And he pointed to the close historic and cultural and heritage ties between India and ASEAN that are often overlooked, but he also said they share a lot of commonalities when it comes to strategic interests as well. And he particularly emphasized the need for ASEAN and India to work more closely together at all levels to try to combat the threat of transnational terrorism, of global terrorism. This was also a theme raised by President Obama when he met with the ASEAN leaders at the ASEAN plus US meeting. He emphasized how much ties had improved and strengthened between ASEAN and the US on his watch. He's met with the ASEAN leaders 8 times, visited the region more times than any other sitting president, and he also emphasized these other areas that they can collaborate on. Transnational challenges, not just terrorism, but also things like pandemic and epidemic diseases. Then the leaders all moved on to the East Asia Summit, the 18 leaders in all there, and you mentioned a lot of the themes that they covered, obviously major geopolitical and economic issues as well. And then proceedings wrapped up with a joint leaders statement on the progress on the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which involves ASEAN, China, and 5 other countries, 16 countries in all. And unfortunately, there was no deadline given, no prognosis of when we can expect this huge free trade deal to be done. They said progress has been made, many hurdles remain, and they're going to push their officials and their ministers to really concentrate their effort on this to try to conclude it as speedily as possible.
Right. Negotiation on the RCEP has been slow for the past years. But in terms of China-ASEAN ties, the Premier himself made suggestions on how to strengthen that ties. It seemed to be quite comprehensive. But how would you describe that relationship now? Are parties from this multilateral tie benefiting?
Yes, I mean, this ASEAN summit was also a celebration of 25 years of dialogue partnership between China and ASEAN, and it's kind of astonishing now when you look at the level of the relationship now and you look at how it was 25 years ago. It's hard to imagine. There wasn't a high level of trust back then. There was a lot of sort of mutual suspicion. Trade between ASEAN and China was only $8 billion a year. It's now approaching $500 billion with the goal to make that reach the level of $1 trillion in a matter of a few years' time. Now, while trade has taken off, investment has been slower to take off. If you look at a country like Malaysia, for instance, a couple of years ago, more investment was going from Malaysia to China than the other way around. But with President Xi's One Belt and One Road initiative, that has really changed the dynamic. You've seen a lot more foreign investment from China flowing into this region, especially into infrastructure projects. If you take this country, there are major projects that China has undertaken, and the one that is planned, or at least proposed at this stage, is for a high-speed rail link from Kunming in Yunnan province down to the capital Vientiane. This country currently has only a couple of kilometers rail line, if you can imagine, just from the Thai border to this little station in the middle of nowhere. So that would be a huge improvement for that country. But even more developed countries like Malaysia are still looking for Chinese investment to improve ports, to improve rail networks and the like. And the high-speed rail network between Singapore and Kuala Lumpur is, of course, the grand prize that China's hoping for and is one of the major front runners for that project.
All right, Ryan Meltzer joining us live from Vientiane. Thank you so much.